What is happening at J Gamer Dude here and I'm going to be talking about Full Metal Panic: The Second Raid. So this is the second season to Full Metal Panic, and it's kind of been quite some time since I've seen the first season. So when it comes to the second season of the show, it's kind of highly recommended. You jump into it knowing, like, just sort of jumping onto it immediately afterwards, because the season will take no liberties in actually, treating you back into the characters, the events of the first season, and sort of whatever have you in that sort of thing. But this is kind of me just sharing my thoughts on the anime in question, and if you kind of like that sort of thing, like the video, comment below on your thoughts about the show if you've seen it yourself, and of course subscribe to the channel because I'd like my videos to go out to more people. But with all that said and done, let's kind of actually just sort of jump into it. So, Full Metal Panic, I had a fun time watching the first season. It was a good show. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's great. The second raid, which is the second season that we're talking about here, is more, taking what all of the sort of mecha war aspects of Full Metal Panic and then bringing that over, but instead focusing, rather than on introducing the characters, actually giving them significantly more depth as we get to know more about Sosuke, as we get to know more about Chidori and all of these characters. So the mecha is still very much there, so if you're not a mecha fan, again, you would likely not have gone through the first season, so I cannot in good conscience recommend season 2, and I am making my way through the third season, which is Invisible Victory at the moment, and God, some very interesting things to talk about there. But so this show aired in 2005 and is the sequel season to the 2003 originally aired show based on the manga series of exactly the same name. The opening and ending themes for this show are not really memorable in any way, in any sense of the word. It just seems to be there, and it follows the same trope of like the opening kind of being a bit more cheerier, but then the ending theme being a bit more sort of like sad and a little bit droopy, and just kind of having that sort of idea. So there really isn't much to say regarding that, but yeah, the main key to this entire season is really just giving every character a little bit more depth. Well, some more than others, but obviously it's kind of the two main characters that get the most amount of depth. Does it really pay off much? Well, it does kind of lead us to pretty much a bit of a cliffhanger between a couple of our main characters, even though it does tell a full story in its own way. And the cliffhanger is more so in relation to character relationships, which do not even get touched or tackled until 13 years later, when we get Invisible Victory, which is actually a 2018 joint, which is actually quite surprising that we've waited this long. And of course, during the before Invisible Victory even came out, or around the time, we did get a Full Metal Panic game that was only released in Asian regions, and I do actually have a copy of the game myself, which I will be playing at some point. It's pretty much a strategy game, but yeah, all in all, it's the exact same characters from the first season, so there really isn't much to say about that. And honestly, like, if you think that Chidori is kind of like an incredibly annoying character, she absolutely is, and does fall into that sort of tsundere type of character arc. Like, that is to be expected from her. But the thing is that with everything going on, and sort of like the midpoint to where like Sagura no longer becomes an interest, so he loses interest in being a character. Like, he is an interesting character as a whole, it's just that he becomes significantly less interesting around the midpoint of the series, and then when we finally get Chidori back, it's almost like when she is no longer in the story for a little bit, but then she is then put back into the story, and it really does feel like a breath of fresh air that we've kind of been missing something this whole time. So there is fun to be had in watching the show without thinking too much about it. But the thing is that it is trying to get you involved with the characters, keep up with them, know what's going on around them, even if they may not appear for a few episodes. But usually when they don't appear for a few episodes, there's usually a very good reason for that. Now, with all things said and done, we do get introduced to a couple of new characters here and there. Leonard, who will be very important sort of later on. I don't actually remember if he appears in the first season, but I think he's probably the only really notable character that kind of makes his way into this series as like a sort of almost main antagonist. But we'll kind of have to see how that kind of pushes on further, and all the rest of it. Can I recommend this show? Only if you've seen the first season and you liked it. Also, you don't think Chidori is not too annoying. If you think she's a little annoying, then I think you might be fine with the second season, because she doesn't appear that much. But when she does, it almost feels like, it's sort of a return to form, in a good way of like what the series felt like. And it felt like it was missing quite a lot when Sagara has to go through a bit of character building, like a little mini character building arc. It does feel like it kind of has lost quite a bit of its luster in the way that the show presents itself, because Sagara is, at the end of the day, kind of the central focal point of the show as a whole. But yeah, I think it's okay. Like, I didn't really like it that much, so I'm actually going to be giving the show a 6 out of 10. It's good to have character building and all of that, but if the character building takes too much away from the show, it feels like it's kind of lacking. Whether it be the fact that it doesn't feel as high octane with the comedy, with the jokes. Yes, comedy can be good at times, but it takes itself way too seriously. And I feel like the first season was definitely showing that you can have an incredibly serious character while everyone around that character is not serious at all, and kind of use that as an inflection point. This season tries to do that, but doesn't really manage it, because now everyone is starting to become sort of more gloomy and sort of sad and all of that sort of thing, so it just doesn't really work out as well. But yeah, all in all, after having watched all 13 episodes, which the last episode is also 7 minutes longer than all the other episodes, which is surprising. I don't think there was any real reason for that, but I just thought that was an interesting thing to note. But yeah, with all that said and done, I'm giving this a 6 out of 10, which I'm just plugging into my mail as we speak. And yeah, let me know what you guys thought about Full Metal Panic, and also, are you guys also going to watch the next season, which is going to be Invisible Victory, which aired in 2018, or if you've dropped it, let me know why. Even if it's at this point or even before this point, chuck them in the comments below. Like the video if you like the review, the thoughts being shared and everything else, and subscribe to the channel, because I'd like my videos to go out to more people, and hopefully there are actually going to be like more people out there that may enjoy this. But with all that said and done, I'll see you guys next time.